Well, I started everything I do working at Verizon Wireless selling cell phones. And working at Verizon Wireless, you kind of have a glass ceiling and you're trying to do outside things. And I was working in the music industry and trying to push bands as a photographer, managing a band. And in looking for funding for a band, I reached out to a lot of different industries. And one of the people that responded was Mike Brunson, the owner of Caviar Gold. And at that time, he was in California and Colorado as a multi-state operator. And he flew up and he came to a concert that my band was at and saw the whole concert and saw the community and how many people showed out and the energy of it. So he was just really excited about us, and he rented out the top 2 penthouse suites of the Olive Hotel downtown Seattle. We took our entire group, all of our fans up there, were running around. Kind of felt like the old 80s movies where you have robes on running around the hotels at nighttime and craziness. And he brought everybody into the office in this hotel room, because this hotel room had its own little office. And he told everybody that we just created a record label called Cavi Gold Records. And Scott and me are going to partner on that. And we're going to put this band through a professional recording studio, and we're going to put this band out. And he was telling me at the same time as he was telling everybody else. And I was like, yes, we did have that talk. We're going to do this. So we started Cavi Gold Records. And I was the record label head for a cannabis brand. And we started putting, through Robert Lang Studios here in Richmond Beach, we started putting a bunch of bands through and recording, a bunch of artists through and recording all of their stuff and putting them out under Cavi Gold Records. Well, quickly we found out that music is a lot more expensive than we anticipated, because once you create the art, that's day one. Now you have to push the art out. Now you have to get all the marketing. Now you have to get all the people writing editorials about you, not just purchased marketing. In order to do that, you have to gain a lot of ground in a lot of different ways, a lot of guerrilla marketing. So I really cut my teeth in the music industry pushing a cannabis brand. And once it got really expensive, Mike Brunson said, I need you to start Caviar Gold in Washington and run Caviar Gold Washington so that we can have enough money to continue doing the music. So I went to my general manager at Verizon Wireless and I said, I'd like to sign some separation paperwork on a 6-month trial so I can try the cannabis industry. And they applauded my honesty and they marked me as rehirable. And they let me go off and to go try my bet at the cannabis industry. In order to prove myself to Mike Brunson and Caviar Gold, I had to go to California and I had to pack a trunk of a rental car full of products and just drive all over the whole state until I sold everything in the trunk, and then come back and do it again. And I had to prove that I had the chops to sell an entire trunk load of cannabis, which is like 20, 30 grand, around that, every day. And I had to sell that much every day for about a month of just really hardcore in the field driving. And I brought a friend with so that she could drive so that I could just call the stores in advance of getting there. And we had a system worked out, and I just sold a lot of pot. So he said, okay, I'll go ahead and I'll bring a machine up to the state of Washington. So we brought a machine up to the state of Washington, and we started making product up here for the medical market. One thing led to another. We built a lot of things. We had our own stage at HempFest for 6 years. We ended up being the presenting sponsor of the last HempFest, of the whole thing. So we really touched the community and built a lot of fun things with that brand here. And then legal cannabis hit. As legal cannabis hit, Caviar Gold just did not want to change its pricing structure and did not want to change our deal on how it was structured. So at the end of the day, when I did all the math, I was paying for every joint that I was selling. I wasn't making any money, and we just couldn't move forward, and we had to split our own ways. So I put the cannabis license on hold, didn't bring any inventory in. I took the warehouse space and I painted a whole section of it green. And then I hung a bunch of lights and I started a TV show called The Dab Roast. I didn't have another brand. I was in a very lost and lonely spot. And I met my wife, and we kind of just worked out the whole idea of the Dab Roast. 10 dabs, 10 questions, kind of like Hot Ones, but with cannabis. We wanted a whole bunch of different dab companies to come in and sponsor and bring their dabs and pay to sponsor this show so we can hire some celebrities. And we started building this show. We did 24 episodes, financed episodes by the whole community. And while filming this show, we did an entire big out-of-state contract after the 24 episodes where a big brand, Extraction Tech Stainless, hired us to come out and film their whole facility in Colorado. And this is a very expensive endeavor for Redman and film team and everybody to go there and do this. In trade for this, they gave us an extraction machine. The thing that we lost from Caviar Gold, we got one back. It took us another 20 months just to build a C1D1 room and install this machine and get it back up and running. And then we turned our license back on now that we had a machine, and we started bringing in cannabis, and we started making a dab roast product because now we had a new brand to push, and things were really going great. We started traveling around the country and really filming a lot about the cannabis industry. For the past 5 years, we've been filming a whole lot. We have so much footage, and now we're at the point where we're about to turn everything over to a Netflix deal, and hopefully they say yes. A first right of refusal, they're gonna see it all first. We'll take the feedback and adjust if needed, and we've got footage nobody else has ever seen in cannabis. Nothing has ever gone on TV, nothing has ever gone on YouTube or Netflix or any of these things. With the behind the scenes that we have. We have the ups, but most importantly, the downs, the different things that people are working on in the industry. We have a lot of education. If you watch our show, at the end of it, you'll understand a lot more about what this industry really means and the people that are in it, what they're pushing for CBD, for textiles, just everybody that has given their life to cannabis. We've interviewed so many different kinds of people. Politicians, all this kind of thing, celebrity sports people, music people, content creators. We've had a lot of interviews as our show has changed. It's no longer 10 dabs, 10 questions. When Redman came on, he pretty much told us our version of this show was a ripoff of Hot Ones, and it was set up like Snoop Dogg's show, and he was just like, nothing is original. So he's like, if you'd like me to come on and be the director and the executive producer of this show, I'm gonna have to change the whole format so it's original. And I said, what would you do? And the next day, he gave me like 4 pages of director's formatted, very well done notes signed by, if you implement any of these, you'll be hearing from Redman. So of course, I'm gonna read all of these, and they were great notes. Very much taking the emphasis off shock value of celebrities taking dabs and putting it on actual real human stories behind the brands. Now that we've got real human stories behind all the brands, and we're building the whole show, we're ready to take the dab roast into a national platform, and we've built all the SKUs of the dab roast products here in Washington, and we're ready to move those across the country in different states now. A normal day in the cannabis as an owner-operator, we're gonna wake up at 4 in the morning, 4:30 in the morning, get a quick shower and head to work to where I can get here before everybody else. Get all the lights on and check all of the orders and start printing all the labels out, start stickering all of the packaging that's going to go on those orders, and then making all of the product, making all the joints, packing them into all of the packaging, printing out all of the store stickers and putting those on, printing your manifests out, and then driving it to the store and dropping off the orders, and then coming back and doing vendor days in order to help the store sell that product. It's absolutely a grind. Every single thing about that product has to be built inside your processing place. So you can't ever run out of materials. You run out of stickers, the entire operation and everybody stops. You can't run out of tubes. You can't run out of weed. It's just like you have to keep everything always filled and have to be really good about every dollar that comes in. 90 cents of that dollar has probably got to go back into just making sure everything is fulfilled. Because if you run out of something, everything stops. The part of the pre-roll production process that requires the most attention is the grind. If you grind your material too much, there is nothing you're going to be able to do to get that joint to smoke, no matter what equipment you have. You have to have a good grind from get-go. If you got a good grind and the moisture content is proper inside the weed, then you have to shake it really well. And as opposed to slamming it down, the STM machine vibrates and lets everything settle instead of slamming it down, which I do believe is a lot better. In that process, you want it packed real hard on the bottom and then packed a little bit less as it gets to the tip to promote smoke going through the entire way and smoking properly. The STM systems do a very good job of packing it the proper way. We have never had a complaint of how these joints smoke at all. The only time there's ever a possible complaint where you see veins on the side or anything is because somebody brought in some cannabis that they grinded themselves. And that's a big no-no. Let us grind it. We'll do it properly. We'll remove all the stems. We'll return them to you so you can make some RSO. But do not grind them yourself and then bring them to us and say, can you roll this powder? It makes it really difficult. A lot of it has to do with just terpenes and packaging. If you got good flavor, you got good packaging, you got a good price. If you don't have one of those, you're a budget brand. There's no middle ground anymore. It's either cheap or really expensive. So the middle ground is off the shelf. So if you have a good smell, a good taste, meaning you have good terpenes, then you put it in a shitty packaging, you're still gonna be a budget brand. You've got to have expensive packaging with the good product, and then you can charge the expensive prices. Arlington, when we first looked for warehouses, way back in medical days, Arlington had the cheapest square foot to the dollar, and I was living in Lake Stevens, so this is the closest industrial area where I could get the amount of space that we really wanted. We turned half of our 8,000 square foot warehouse into a venue at one point with a big stage and threw a whole bunch of events with all of our different dab roast parties, and we really built a reputation for throwing events. What that did for me though was we let bud tenders into our events for free, and it built a huge email list of all the bud tenders in our state. So now whenever we throw a dab roast event, another one on 710, we get to invite the whole bud tender list, which makes all the brands of the state really want to come out because that's their chance to really educate bud tenders when they don't have to help customers nonstop. A moment I'll never forget is High Times came to Washington and they threw a giant High Times cup in Everett. And as Caviar Gold, a big part of our business plan was we went to all these events and we gave out free cannabis at that time. They don't allow you to do that anymore. But at the High Times, this was the last public cannabis event allowed in Washington. We were there and we had a booth that had a second level to it, and we climbed up on our second level and we had giant trash bags. I know the number, it was $180,000 of weed. And we all reached into this trash bag and we just threw joints out to people from the second floor. And we ended up making it on the news. Big deal, because you can see over the fence and see us over the fence just tossing joints to everybody. And they shut down High Times in Washington, and they said we can't have public events anymore. And hopefully it wasn't because we were so flamboyant giving all the weed away, but that was the time that was one of the most funnest that we've had, was having a true High Times cannabis cup in Washington, where weed was just rampant and everybody got to be themselves and the rules didn't get in the way. That was a great event. We haven't had a cannabis event like that since. As far as shout outs, I want to give a shout out to STM. I would not be alive as a brand without their machinery, period. Full stop. It would not be happening. I do 90% of my business is rolling joints for other brands. Only 10% of my business is retail. Being only one person doing most of the work here on the retail side, all the sales calls, all the emails, all the stickering, all the vendor days, all me, I wouldn't be able to survive if STM wasn't rolling joints with me for 10 other farms. So big shout out to STM. If you don't know, then you need to know. Go check out their systems. Modular systems, you can buy just piece by piece, move them on countertops, no giant room needed. I couldn't ask for a better system.